Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and this is the encouraging word for today. We've gotten off to a great start on our journey of faith with Abraham, and we have seen how God has been working in Abraham's life to develop an unshakable faith. And God is doing the same thing in you. Sometimes we go through struggles and we don't realize what God is doing deep in our lives, because God knows there is only one type of faith that God accepts, a faith that God looks for, a faith that God is working in your life and in my life to develop. It's an unnatural faith. Now, I've heard and I've given the illustration of faith by putting a chair, a good solid chair, in front of everybody and saying, we see this chair and we have faith that it will hold us, so we sit in the chair. And that's a great illustration. I'm not criticizing it in any way. We trust the chair because we see the chair can hold us. But that's not the type of faith God is seeking to develop in us. That's a faith based on our own understanding. That's a faith based on what we see, which by sight. And that's not what God is building. Listen to Romans chapter 4, verse 22 through 24. This is what it says. This is why it was credited to him, to Abraham, as righteousness. The words "it was credited to him" were written not for him alone, but also for us, to whom God will credit righteousness, for us who believe in him who raised Jesus our Lord from the dead. God is building faith. He built it in Abraham, and he's building it in you. And he can build the same faith in you that he built in Abraham. And he accepts that as righteousness, and he will accept it from you. But the faith God is building is not the faith that sees a strong chair and sits down in it. It's a faith that looks at a chair and sees a dilapidated old chair that looks like it's going to collapse the minute, fall apart the minute you sit in it. But God says it will hold you. Sit down. It's a faith beyond what we see. It's a faith that is beyond what we feel. It's beyond our own understanding. It's a faith that makes no sense to people around us, or even to us at times. It's a faith built on God's power and promise alone, nothing else. It's built on us becoming fully persuaded that God has the power to do what he promised he would do. It's a faith that's built on looking at our own inability, facing our own inability, facing our circumstances, facing our failures, facing whatever it is in our life, and yet not wavering in our faith. It's a faith that hopes even when there is no hope. We hope against hope, not in what is seen, but in what God has promised. That's the faith that God accepts. That's the faith that God looks for in us. And that's the faith, my friends, that God is working in you right now and in me right now. It's the faith of Abraham. And we'll continue our journey on Monday morning, and we're going now back to the book of Genesis. We started with this introduction in Romans. We're going back to the beginning of Abraham's journey. You can follow it here on YouTube, and I hope you subscribe so you'll get all of the videos when they're published. God bless you. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday morning as we go back to the beginning.